Welcome to the Alternative Sports Show. I am joined by my normal right-hand man, Matthew Connell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well.
And we've got a very special guest today, and we are joined by Keegan, who is Head of International Development for LaLiga, UK and Ireland. How are you?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me, guys.
How are you coping at the moment with the whole, obviously, pandemic and being locked down and so forth? How's it affecting your day-to-day runnings?
You know, it's been obviously an intense period of time for all of us. You know, we've had to get used to a lot of different patterns of how to work and how we do things here. You know, our LaLiga team here in London, we recently opened an office, but we've spent a couple of months without going to the office and working from home to make sure everybody stays safe and healthy. But, you know, we've got Spanish football coming back just around the corner actually next week. So that has all of us busy and putting in the hours to make sure it comes off as best as possible.
I mean, we're avid football fans, so we are absolutely really excited about, you know, the return of some of the greatest players the world has seen, obviously Messi, so forth. You know, so I mean, literally, just to delve in, like, how long have you been part of LaLiga?
Yeah, so I joined LaLiga back in 2017. LaLiga decided back in 2016 to basically extend an international network around the world of representatives. So we actually have over 40 people on the ground in countries around the world, so everywhere ranging from the UK to Vietnam, Angola, Argentina, the United States, China, and the list goes on. So part of the idea is to be able to bring LaLiga closer to fans around the world, to better understand how people watch LaLiga, how people enjoy LaLiga, and to make sure that we're, you know, giving the LaLiga in the best time and in the best place as possible so fans can enjoy it.
So can you give
I was going to mention something really interesting about LaLiga connecting. I was able to experience and work, I was making content within the ICC when LaLiga brought an El Clasico match to Miami, in Miami's Dolphin Stadium, which I believe was 2017. So that's a really good example of how, you know, branching out, connecting closer with fans. How important are those kind of events? Because for me, I could see when you look to the stands, you see the diversity that's in those stands, and you know the kind of Latin communities that come out to watch these teams. Just how important is that for La Liga?
Yeah, it's our responsibility really as a global competition. Obviously, we're played in Spain. Our teams are deeply rooted in their communities in Spain, but the fans are all around the world. And when you can bring a TV program, when you can bring live matches that you can watch on television, when you can bring actual matches themselves, as in the case of that Clásico that was held in Miami, it just makes people feel that much more connected to La Liga and to feel like it's a competition that's not so far away and that they can really make part of their daily lives.
Yeah, so can you give it like our you know, viewers and listeners now, because we're getting a nice assortment of people, football fans waiting to hear on your every word now about La Liga. So can you give them you know, an overview of your role within La Liga, like what your basically your day-to-day runnings personally is?
Of course. So, you know, I'm based here in London and oversee LaLiga's international development for the UK and Ireland. And essentially, international development in this case means seeing our brand presence. So, making sure that we're available in people's homes, that our broadcast partners are continuing to display La Liga and show La Liga as many places as possible. Making sure that we're working with local stakeholders, everything from, you know, local communities, football stakeholders in the UK, brand partners that we've got several global brand partners who are constantly promoting La Liga in different markets. Mm-hmm. And then obviously our business interests as well in the market. So it's about making sure that, you know, people who want to engage with La Liga, that they know how best to do it. And that's everything from a fan level to brands or companies that are maybe looking to sponsoring La Liga or to starting conversations with one of La Liga's clubs. I guess the last part is probably the clubs part, that we're here very much to service our clubs. We're responsible for the top 2 divisions of Spanish football. So the 20 teams of La Liga Santander and the 22 teams of La Liga Smartbank. And, you know, all of those 42 clubs have their own interests, have their own projects, have their own things they want to do internationally. And we're here as a resource for them so that they can essentially connect better with the outside world.
Of course, during this, COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen a complete transition and almost a very positive change in how content is being created. I feel like clubs, teams, leagues, businesses around the sport have learned to adapt, re-engage, but also refocus their way to create content. So, of course, how did La Liga manage to adapt that? Of course, there was content series like Back to Win, but how did you guys, advance your connections within the wider society of La Liga throughout Spain, but also the world?
Of course, and this obviously all happened really fast for everybody in football. The first initiative that we decided to roll out was sort of an umbrella concept, which is called La Liga se juega en casa. La Liga is played at home, and the idea is that people shouldn't think that just because they're at home and they're not able to go to matches, that La Liga doesn't exist as part of their lives. Within the very first weekend after matches were postponed in Spain, we collaborated with an influencer and gamer in Spain called Ibai Llanos, and put on an esports tournament, EA FIFA 20 tournament, that was won by Marco Asensio from Real Madrid. It had players from across La Liga participating, and we had millions and millions of viewers on television in Spain and across the world who were connecting to this particular tournament. It was called La Liga Santander Challenge. We decided the following weekend to do one better and to do a macro concert with over 50 players and singers from around the world. Wow. Called La Liga Santander Fest. And this was broadcast live. And we managed to raise over €1 million to be able to purchase ventilators and PPE for frontline workers in Spain, obviously personal protective equipment. So, so we really decided that our commitment as an organization was to make sure that from the very beginning, we were continuing to be part of people's lives, that we were continuing to not just share La Liga content with them, but to share original, sometimes live content as well. And then also here in the UK, specifically on our La Liga TV channel, we've not only been showing plenty of good archive matches from the past 20 years, but we've also introduced a new initiative called La Liga Classics Fan Pick of the Week, where basically a fan gets a chance to choose a match that he or she have either attended or that they remember fondly. They nominate it by getting in touch with us through Twitter, and then we select every single Monday the match that goes out with a little introduction video from that fan talking about what his or her memory is about being part of that game at the time.
I think that's what's so positive about football as an industry across many leagues that I've been able to witness and work within, that it ultimately shows that football is the ultimate stage of entertainment, and that adaptation into, which is coming to my next question, which you've kind of touched upon, which is great, is obviously gaming. Of course, the kind of the music element just shows that we have a wide, diverse audience for all male, females, every continent across the world. There's no country that's isolated from the access to what football is, which is amazing. And of course, we've seen a complete uprise in e-gaming. And of course, Marco Asensio, for us over here, the football fans that support these English teams, like, what a player, we want to sign him up. But also, what a guy to play FIFA with. Of course, he was dominating that scene. But for La Liga, progressively, just how important is that e-gaming scene? Because it's, as you might see, for example, Formula One, we're now broadcasting on Sky Sports, for example, these kind of tournaments and streamed live on YouTube. So just how positive has that been for La Liga, and how important will that be as a kind of content model going forward?
Yeah, certainly esports are a really important and exciting part of the sports and entertainment industry. And we've, long considered ourselves to be in the sport and entertainment industry and not just in the sport industry as an organization. We've got a great partnership with EA Sports. Obviously FIFA is a game loved by millions and millions of people all around the world. And I think it's also increasingly the main way that many younger people engage with football. The live matches is something that you enjoy when they're on, but playing FIFA is something that occupies hours of your week. And it's a way of educating people as well. You can understand who the players are, you understand the teams, their grounds. It's really an amazing platform for people to engage with football as a sport. And we continue to feel that esports will be a real area of growth for us moving forward as well.
I think what's been really beneficial for us as Brits and fans and viewers of La Liga, that we have been allowed to get access to understanding the steps that La Liga has been taking. La Liga President Javier Tebas has done obviously these kind of Zoom calls and interviews, and these content that's been distributed that we've also been putting out. And so that's been so beneficial for us to understand the steps the league are taking to basically come out of lockdown. So how important has this kind of clarity and the team around Javier Tebas been to allow the progress of La Liga, to keep fans aware of what's going on and how to get everything back started?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously not an easy task for anybody. And I should say, by the way, that I think everyone in La Liga is fully aware that although we're bringing La Liga back from next week, football is not fully back until fans are finally able to safely come into the stadium. I think this is a step-by-step process, and it's something that none of us should ever lose sight of, because this is the journey that we're all on to be able to get back to not just the new normal, but to get back to something like the normal that we once knew. And I think there's been a real singular vision from Javier Tebas and from everybody at La Liga that this is something that is feasible, that it requires sacrifice on behalf of many people, first and foremost the players and their families, and also sacrifice in terms of society, because it's only because Spain has successfully made it through these initial months of a fairly strict and disciplined lockdown period that now the health conditions on the ground are such that we can start talking about football coming back. And we worked very quickly to develop a series of protocols so that our clubs could come back to training. That starts with sort of pre-testing and making sure that individual players and clubs are prepared for training. Then it's about individual training itself without really anybody being in contact with each other and respecting social distancing. We then moved into small group training. And then from just this week, actually having players back in full group training. And so, we're in a position where it's just around the corner. We're completely aware that we couldn't have done this without the support of the institutions in Spain, with the government, with the health ministry, with the federation. And at the same time, that all of this is dependent upon the evolution of the pandemic and of the virus. And so I think it's really important for all of us to remember that just because we're starting to get back into some aspects of our everyday life doesn't mean that we can go back to the exact same patterns and behaviors that we once had. We have to be really, really responsible and really careful, and to take things, as good managers say, match by match, or in this case, step by step, as we deal with the pandemic.
So just for those who don't know, can you explain the actual significant steps which allowed like the return of La Liga for the target date of June 8th?
Yeah, of course. The target date is the week of June 8th, but we've actually announced it starting on Thursday, the 11th of June. So
okay.
So we have Real Betis, right?
There we go. Exactly. It's starting with the Seville derby. So it'll be Sevilla against Real Betis, which is obviously one of the best derbies in all of Spain, and an interesting way to be able to see the passion that the players will bring to the pitch. Obviously, fans won't be able to be there at the time, although we've launched an initiative called Applause to Infinity, where fans can actually go online and can record themselves either by audio or video applauding. And in the 20th minute of every single match, there's going to be an applause that's played during the course of the broadcast. Wow. So that that everybody can sort of hear their own voice or hear the fan's voice in the context of the matches themselves. In terms of the steps themselves, Andre, it's it really was about, first of all, making sure that there was good alignment between La Liga, government authorities, that we understood their advice and their suggestions, making sure that there were active conversations with other stakeholders within Spanish football, including the federation. And then from there, really laying out these sort of staged protocols. So a protocol that allowed clubs to return to training in a safe way, starting with a series of intensive tests. And then from there, moving on to the match day protocols, understanding that not everybody can have access to the stadium, and also that stadiums need to be organized in such a way that really you're limiting access to dressing rooms and to that central core of the stadium only to folks who have clearly gone through testing and that don't put the health of the players, their families, and other staff members at risk.
Has there been any adaptation within broadcast measures? Because of course in the Premier League, they don't air 3 p.m. kickoffs and whatnot, and a lot of the matches, well, all the matches are going to be ready to be on air. Is there anything that's been measured out for La Liga, whether that may be in Spain or globally?
So we have we've not yet rolled out, and hopefully within the next week or so there'll be some interesting news in terms of exactly what the La Liga broadcasts are going to be like. The good news for fans in the UK is that our channel, which offers all of the matches, LaLiga TV, is actually free for Sky subscribers during the entire month of June. And so if folks want to enjoy the return of La Liga from next week, but also enjoy a lot of the great content that's available on LaLiga TV from now. On Monday, we had a great interview with Guillaume Balaguer and Mauricio Pochettino, for example, which I know a lot of folks tuned into. You can go to premiersports.com, who are our broadcast partner, and the code is back to win, and you sign up and you can get either on your Skybox, or if you're not a Sky customer and you want to watch it via streaming, you can also watch it on the Premier Player app. And so, for us, the biggest development is announcing that we will be able to offer free football to fans in the UK during the entire month of June. And hopefully, as we get closer to the kickoff of the season next week, there'll be even more details about exactly what those games are going to look like and maybe some of the innovations that get introduced.
Oh, you're definitely whetting my appetite for the return, I'll tell you. So what role do you actually think that La Liga plays in society?
I think we have an important role in society, not only with our players and clubs as role models, but also to understand that we need to be giving back to society in all of the things that we do. That's what the work of our foundation is focused on. That's what our sporting projects, which take place around the world, since 2015, we've run over 300 projects in over 30 countries around the world, which have impacted young people, players, communities. And then obviously, if you look at some of the content initiatives that we've rolled out, and some of the benefit initiatives we rolled out just since this lockdown began, we clearly see that our responsibility is to try to give back to society as much as possible, and raising money for frontline workers and to buy ventilators in Spain is just one aspect of that.
How much, last question from myself. So how much do you feel the last few months has changed the way La Liga approach business? Do you very much feel like it's a business has changed forever kind of approach, or do you feel like there's certain things that will just remain and keep going, and this is a ever-evolving process?
I ask myself constantly the exact same question. I think all of us are waiting for this magical date in the future when finally there's a vaccine that's been developed and that has been implemented that allows us to get back to some semblance of normal life. But I think we all will have learned lessons from this period that change us, that change us as organizations, and that change us as individuals as well. We're lucky as La Liga in that when we rolled out this international network back in 2017, we had people already working remotely from a number of locations. I've been based at an office in London since last year, but spent my first 2 years in London working from a home office location when I first arrived here. And so I think this idea of remote working from home, using tools to keep in contact with teams. I mean, this is really the direction where the 21st century workplace is going anyway. You guys know it because of the content that you generate for your platforms. Certainly, we're more and more aware of it as a global organization, that not everybody can be sitting in a physical building in Madrid. And I think it just means that we're going to value our time a lot more as individuals. It means that we're going to see connectivity and collaboration in a very different way than maybe we did 5 or 10 years ago, and that we really need to make sure that we understand that even when people are in their homes, you can still make an impact on society if you do the right things.
One last thing from me. I've always been curious to ask this. Do you recall what your first experience with La Liga was, or what your first La Liga match was that you attended?
I do. My first match, so I did a master's degree in Barcelona starting in 2009. So I got to arrive just after Pep Guardiola in his first year as manager. They had won the treble that year. And then I got to sort of stick around for the remaining 3 trophies that they won in terms of Super Cups and FIFA Club World Cups and all of the rest. So my first match was an FC Barcelona Atletico Madrid. I think we're talking about either September or October of 2009. And I recall that FC Barcelona won 5-0. I hope I'm not going to be corrected on that. But I remember I was only maybe about 10 or 15 rows back at the Camp Nou. And this was Atleti, obviously, before the arrival of Simeone. This was Atleti where the matches between Barca and Atleti were always considered to be sort of crazy end-to-end affairs, and that you never knew whether Atleti was going to beat Barca on one day or to lose to them 5-0 on another day. I happened to be there on the day that they lost to them 5-0. And that's, for me, it was just an amazing experience to see La Liga firsthand. I had watched it. I'm originally from California. I grew up in the US and worked in Major League Soccer. So I had followed Spanish football from afar, but had never gotten a chance to experience the stadium firsthand until that day. And here we go about 10 years and some change later, and I'm so hooked that I now work for La Liga.
It's, like I say, that's the way to experience it. It's likewise for me, being at Barcelona versus Valladolid. And for me, I was actually in Barcelona as a tourist. And of course, you cannot avoid going to see Barcelona. Unfortunately for me at that time, Messi was injured. But I guess the compensator for that for me was that I didn't realise, despite the rain, that was the match that also Barcelona lifted the Liga trophy. And that was me and my friends who weren't as much big football fans were like, what is going on? They couldn't believe the spectacle that it was, and also the passion that you see. And that goes to show what Spanish football is all about.
Absolutely. I think one of the fun things about Spanish football is that it's not just the 90 minutes on the pitch, but it's all of the culture that goes around it. It's, beautiful cities, it's the match day rituals of the fans, it's the food, it's the culture, it's the music. And, Spain is such a diverse country that to know Spanish football is really to get to know all of the ins and outs of an amazing, fascinating place. And so, it's great. I mean, it's an enjoyable experience for everybody, I think.
I was going to say, that's one thing, my last take on this is, when I was working on a project around Leganes, so for the English fans who don't know, of course, Leganes is like south part of Madrid. Mm-hmm. So of course, no one would obviously look at that and think, oh, that's a big team. But of course, they're part of a big city. And one thing I really took away from Spanish football fans and teams was where they have these almost like pre-ceremonies in their town squares where they introduce a team to the fans. And it's hard to explain this to English fans, but it's almost like a celebration of winning the league without showing a trophy. It's just celebrating the club. And I thought, for me, that just spells out what Spanish football is all about. It was fantastic to see.
Absolutely, and a club that has an amazing stadium experience as well. I mean, they've got some of the best sunsets in Spanish football. If you sit there looking westward, they've got one of the best mascots in all of sport, which is Super Pepino, the Super Pickle,
that's amazing.
Or the super cucumber, rather, I should say. So, it's a great match day experience, as it is at so many other La Liga grounds.
Keegan, culturally, just lastly, what was the differences between obviously where you've worked before in the States and working for La Liga? What would you say you've learned from the whole experience of working there?
I think previously I worked in Major League Soccer. I was working at the team level, and it was a team that was owned by Mexican investors. So it was a club called Chivas USA, which was based in Los Angeles for a number of years. I was there during the first 5 years of that club's existence. I think that in Major League Soccer, obviously it's an amazing league. It's grown quite a bit. The fan culture has developed amazingly over these past years, but very much with a vision of a North American model where there's a league that gives, shall we say, sort of services and directions to the club. The fun thing about La Liga is that our best days are sort of ahead. We've grown so much just in the course of the past 3 years that I've been with La Liga. We're an ambitious organization, and we're a fairly agile organization in the sense that this is less about Spanish culture and North American culture maybe, but more about organizational culture. That La Liga, we're very hungry. We believe very strongly in innovation. We believe in trying things that maybe other people wouldn't try within the sporting landscape. And it's a place where if you work hard and you put forth good ideas, you get the opportunity to do a lot of fun projects and initiatives. And so for me, it's that sort of agility, even for a league which is well known around the world, which I really highlight about the way that things work. Then in terms of national culture, you get everything from the hours at which people eat or how meetings get organized. But that's also part of the fun, I think, of working in international environments. My undergraduate degree was in international relations, and that's where I sort of exercised my hobby as a language nerd. And for me, just working in different environments where you got people of different nationalities. In La Liga, we've got people from countries all over the world, and to be in that kind of diverse international environment, which is about really promoting Spanish football and supporting Spanish football around the world, is a really fun and dynamic place to be.
You've got us very excited for the return. On obviously we're big fans as it is, and I think you've whetted our appetite even more. So UK fans, if just remember to watch all La Liga and all in one place on LaLiga TV. LaLiga TV is free in June for all UK, for all Sky UK subscribers. Keegan, we will be bothering you to be able to come and see some games at some point. See if you can pull any strings for us. Yeah, we definitely want to go and well, when things are safe and the new normal arrives, a safe new normal, then we'll come over and visit and you can show us about.
It would be a pleasure, guys, and thanks for taking the time to connect today.
Thanks again.